Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupada Krishna Bhakta Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Name. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauruvani Prasade Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Siddhartha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nitya Ananda Shri Advait Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mohan So today we are discussing from Bhagavad-gītā Cities chapter 10 text number 9. I'll recite the sloka and translation and continue the class. Machitta matkata prana bodhayanta parasparam tatyantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. It's a very important sloka which Prabhupada always quotes in his classes. So basically this verse describes the characteristics of pure devotees. The pure devotees are always engaged in discussing about the transcendental service of the Lord. And they are, first and foremost, they are fully engaged. And one of the most important activities that they engage is discussing amongst themselves about the activities of the Lord, His qualities, His pastimes. They don't discuss on any other material subject matters. So they are 24 hours engaged in glorifying the activities, the qualities, pastimes, and so forth of the Lord. So the purpose of chanting is, of glorifying is, the more we chant Krishna's name, the more we want to chant Krishna. So the more we hear about Krishna, the more we want to hear about Krishna. Now Krishna is unlimited, His glories are unlimited, and so discussions about the Lord are also unlimited. Basically, we are social by nature, and we have some characteristics. Actually, we have a relationship with the Lord. We also have a tendency to, by nature, we have been given our ears to hear and our mouth to speak. And by our constitutional position, we are meant to hear the glories of the Lord and also speak about the glories of the Lord. And because we don't do that, what happens is that in the material world, we hear so many topics. We have economics, we have philosophy, we have people talking about history, we have people talking about actors, politicians, so forth, etc. So this material world is conditioned by three modes of material nature, that is goodness, passion, and ignorance. But the activities of the Lord are beyond these three modes, and they are not only purifying for our own existence, but the devotees are meant to be engaged in the service of the Lord. And one of the most important aspects is hearing. So when we hear about Krishna, then what happens is we develop an interest about Krishna. For example, when four people meet together, which we generally see in the parks also. So they may, elderly people meet or a set of 4 or 5 people meet, they discuss about either economic development or politics, and so many things are there. But discussing by discussing those issues, first and foremost, is not able to find a solution for the problems. On the other hand, by discussing these things, one becomes conditioned by the three modes of material nature and becomes bound again. And the more we discuss on these subjects, the more we get entangled. And the more we get entangled, we look for people who can discuss on these subjects only. If you go to a sports person and talk to him about the politics, he may not have any desire. He may not listen to you also. Similarly, devotees are such that they are interested only in discussing about the activities of the Lord. And they have no interest in any of the material world. so even though they are living in this material world, they are constantly engaged. One might question how one can be all engaged always in the spiritual activities. Krishna's activities are such that whatever he performs every day can always be utilized in his service. And the more we hear about Krishna's qualities, characteristics, pastimes, Krishna is unlimited. And so his qualities are unlimited, his characteristics are unlimited, his pastimes are unlimited. And like I mentioned, we have a relationship with the Lord. And when we engage our relationship in service, we are in a position to revive that relationship of the Lord, which we have lost. We all have a tendency to have relationships also with others, some way or the other, either within the family, within the society, or one who working in a company or public institutions, clubs, so many things are there. We establish relationships, and all these relationships are temporary in nature. They are not permanent. So that is why what happens is that when we relate with others, over a period of time, we may not relish the same taste constantly. But on the other hand, when we hear about Krishna, we are in a position to revive our relationship with the Lord, which is there already within us. So when we hear about him, we're able to revive that relation. And the Lord also relishes, because just like a father always likes to have his children with him and talking about the right things, similarly, our Supreme Father Krishna always is looking for an opportunity wherein we are able to hear about him, glorify him, which purifies us of our conditioned existence. And then at the end of this birth, we go back to the spiritual world where Krishna is eternally engaged in his service with his devotees. Even in the material world, when Krishna was here performing his pastimes, the cowherd boys used to come back home. They used to go out throughout the day, grazing the cows and so forth. And they would leave in the morning and come back in the evening. So in the process, so many activities take place. When Krishna was there, he would kill some other demon, or the Krishna would be engaged in playing his pastime with the cowherd boys. Now, all these activities which the cowherd boys perform, it is said that they got this opportunity to associate with Krishna after many births of pious activities, and that pious activity is ending up with devotional service to the Lord. So they got the opportunity. And so when they come back in the evening to their respective homes, they would discuss whatever activities Krishna performed during the day. And their respective mothers and family members in Vrindavan, they would also be very eagerly waiting for their children to come back. And when children narrate these pastimes of Krishna, the mothers would relish a lot of nectar from their children. This many times we see when children speak, we also would like to hear. So when Krishna's cowherd boy friends used to speak when they come back home, their respective mothers used to like hearing about the Lord's activities. So that is how Krishna's activities are. Because they are transcendental in nature, when one speaks, the other one would like to hear. Now, the devotees generally, when they even go to the temple, they would like to see the beautiful form of the Lord. There are so many devotees who take a lot of effort to make the Lord, to decorate the Lord in such a way so that the Lord becomes very attractive to those who are visiting, and they get captured by the attractive beauty of the Lord. So devotees also, when they see, they remember, yes, I saw the Lord, and they try to describe to others. 500 years before, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here, one of the Goswamis, Sanatana Goswami, he would speak to the Madan Mohan deity, and the Lord would one day tell him that I want salt today, because normally devotees cook and offer to the Lord. So the deity Madan Mohan would tell Sanatana Goswami that I want salt, and Sanatana Goswami would tell the deity, and I'm a renunciant, I'm like a sannyasi, where will I go for a salt? And today you ask for salt, and tomorrow you may ask for something else. So anytime we go to the temple and see the Lordship beautifully decorated, we get that impression, and that impression gets carried away in our mind for a long time. So, and then the Lord arranges one to get an association of pure devotees. Pure devotees, there are some devotees who come from the spiritual world to inspire devotees like sadhakas like us to get attracted to Krishna consciousness. But people like us, the Lord makes arrangement for some or the other. For example, today you are all hearing the Bhagavad-gītā class. So it is an arrangement for the Lord, so that by hearing about Krishna, you get attracted to Krishna's activities, qualities, etc. And then you also develop a taste for these things. Now, in the spiritual world, these activities are eternally taking place, because there they don't have birth, death, old age, and disease, and they are always engaged in the service of the Lord somewhere, some other service. They are always engaged. But here in the material world, we have so many engagements to do, and there they are always glorifying the Lord and discussing about the Lord, because only devotees are there. But in the material world, there are so many conditioned souls like us. So these pure devotees of the Lord, they constantly discuss with others, and whatever we see in this material world is but a partial reflection of what exists in the spiritual world. In fact, whatever is existing in the spiritual world is real, but what is here in the material world is not only real, but it is temporary. For example, we have a relationship with our friends, we have a relationship with our parents, but they are all temporary only for this birth. Next birth, we may have somebody else as parents, we may have somebody else as friends, and so forth. So these activities of the Lord are a means for us to understand what is real and what is false, what is temporary. So our soul is permanent. So similarly, the tendency is to attain something permanent. So when we discuss about politics or philosophy or economic development, etc., we become stale, because they are all temporary in nature and within the three modes of material nature. But discussions about the Lord and his activities are transcendental in nature, and being unlimited, devotees can have very many types of relationship with the Lord, and they can relish a lot of different tastes also by hearing about the Lord. So pure devotees are always engaged in serving the Lord by hearing. So Srimad Bhagavatam is a scripture, just like Bhagavad-gītā. Bhagavad-gītā was spoken by the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled by Lord's incarnation as Srila Vyasadeva, and it contains so much of nectar in the form of Lord's activities, pastimes, etc. So it is compared to a ripened fruit of all Vedic literature. That means the essence of all literatures is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. And the devotees would like to drink that nectar which is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. That is why it is said, Pibata Bhagavatam Samalayam. That means there is a taste in Srimad Bhagavatam which consists of all the transcendental activities of the Lord. So our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada actually established this movement of ISKCON with several types of services. For example, Sankirtan. The very word Sankirtan means devotees coming together. Kirtan is we sing on our own, but Sankirtan means devotees coming together in the group and spreading the holy name of the Lord. Similarly, book distribution, honoring prasadam, preaching the Lord's glories. So many activities are there within the spiritual realm itself, that there is no dearth of activities and there is no shortage of services. And actually, if we look at in the material world, there is one activity which can be performed because in the spiritual world, there are no conditioned living entities. They are all liberated souls. Whereas in the material world, preaching is the best, because there are so many conditioned living entities like us. And there is nothing better than discussing about the glories of the Lord amongst the devotees. So when devotees meet, they would like to discuss about the Lord. Devotees don't want to discuss anything about Gramya Katha or other unwanted discussions, because they have experience of this material world, that this material world is temporary, and hearing anything about it makes no sense. And on the other hand, we get fed up and we become saturated. But in the spiritual discussing about the Lord and his activities, there is no saturation, there is no satiation also. That means there is no limit to hearing about the glories of the Lord. So in fact, when Srila Prabhupada was there in this material world, he never discussed about the intimate pastimes of the Lord with the cowherd girls and all, because newcomers would not understand the relationship. He would discuss the pastimes like killing demons amongst the neophytes. So neophytes also should understand something about the tattva or philosophy before understanding pastimes. So Srila Prabhupada would give a lot of philosophical this thing, and he would speak for 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and maximum 5 or 10 minutes here and there. But he would give this philosophy to Westerners and Europeans, and they all became devotees of the Lord just by hearing. So today we are getting that nourishment. So devotees also need nourishment. In fact, one of the senior Matajis who came here from Western country said in her class how everyone in the movement, they also need nourishment, and that nourishment comes from associating with the devotees and hearing from them. So devotees also come together, join together, and they live in unity. So sometimes there may be some small difference of opinion, but then they all come down together, and when it comes to spiritual activity, they join together. So one of the important activities is preaching, and that preaching is discussing about the glories of the Lord. Now what happens is that for sadhakas like us, even to develop some interest for preaching, we must first hear. The process starts from hearing, and then as we advance in our spiritual life, then we automatically develop a taste to preach, because it is there within our heart, because we have a tendency to talk. Lord has given all these things to utilize in his service. So devotees develop compassion for others. I was suffering once upon a time in my life, and then somehow by the mercy of Lords, I have got the association of devotees and hearing about them. As I continue my hearing, my heart has also got purified, and as my heart has got purified, then the devotees would like to give this to others. So this is what this sloka means, that the devotees derive a lot of satisfaction and bliss from enlightening one another. There is nothing called bliss in this material world. We might hear of a word called happiness, but the word bliss is there existing only in the activities of the spiritual world, which is millions and millions of times higher than happiness. So devotees then automatically start discussing with each other. So Srimad Bhagavatam is full of such narrations containing Lord describing the activities of the Lord and his devotees. It is full of nectar, and there is no end to relishing that fruit. So in the ISKCON temples, we normally have classes on Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam every day. In fact, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than incarnation of the Lord. He compares devotional service to the sowing of a seed. Srila Prabhupada also gives many times example. For example, if we plant a seed and keep watering this on the ground, and we may have some fertilizers and all thing, over a period of time, that seed fructifies in the plant. And as the plant grows, it may grow into a tree. And whether the plant or tree, they start giving fruit, and which we enjoy. So similarly, the activities of the Lord are so nourishing, and the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu compares it as a seed of the, he calls it Bhakti Lata Beach. That means seed of devotional service. So when we, in the material world also, like I mentioned, many devotees, pure devotees come, and they give their association, and by their association, we become fortunate enough to hear about the Lord and get a chance to understand about devotional service. Now, literatures like Mahabharata and Ramayana, generally people are interested in politics and so forth. So there are even literatures like Mahabharata. Mahabharata is a part of uh, part of Bhagavad-gītā itself. And similarly, Ramayana. So all these literatures are actual facts which the Lord performed when he advented in this material world. He comes here so that we get attracted by his pastimes. And when we hear about it, we also develop a desire to hear about the Lord. And the more we hear about the Lord, then we want to hear more and more. This is the stage of pure devotees. And they relish this. And when we discuss, they want to give it to others. So this devotional service is just like a seed, and the watering of this seed takes place by the process of hearing and chanting about the Lord, chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By constant chanting, that seed of the devotional service fructifies, and as as the seed fructifies with regular watering, the ultimate this thing is love of Godhead. We develop love for Godhead, love for the Supreme Lord. And when one attains this love for the Lord, it is said that this Bhakti Lata Beach, or the seed of devotional creeper, is such that it crosses all the coverings of the material universe, and then enters into the Brahma Jyoti in the spiritual sky, which is a glowing effulgence covering the spiritual planets. And then it penetrates further and further and further and enters into the Goloka Vrindavana and takes shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. So that is the power of this devotional service. And the watering process is in the form of chanting and hearing and so forth. So this is described in the Madhya Lila also, as to how when devotees attain that love of Godhead, even for a moment without being discussing about the Lord, they feel like a fish out of water. So that is the stage when devotees are actually in touch with the Lord, even when they are in this material world. That's how powerful the devotion service is. And then at the end of the life, they go back to the spiritual world and always engage in the service of the Lord. But the end or the mature fruit is the love of Godhead, which one attains by constantly hearing and discussing about the Lord. And so when they get it, they attain what is called the bliss that is mentioned, and they want to give it to others. So Srila Prabhupada, in fact, when he was here, he used to tell all his disciples in his room that at night, when they take rest, they should always think about whatever happened during the day. So Srila Prabhupada used to always relate with the devotees, and he would suggest that they should always think about whatever happened during the day, activities for the day when they go to take rest. By which what happens is they are constantly engaged in the service. That is one means of engaging. So they would always be here remembering, and they would talk about Krishna. In fact, when Srila Prabhupada preached to the Westerners in the European countries and the Western countries, he gave them the philosophy and pastimes in a very simple way, which attracted them. And they became pure devotees of the Lord. And they were always constantly engaged in hearing about the Lord. So it is said that pure devotees of the Lord are more powerful than the water of Ganges, by which one might take a dip in the Ganges water and become purified. But the hearing of the nectarian topics about the Lord has got a benefit which has got multiple times, millions and millions of times, by the benefit one gets by taking a dip in the Ganges water. So at least here we find Ganges and Yamuna and so many holy rivers. But when Srila Prabhupada went to Europe or America, there was no holy river there like Ganga, Yamuna. But Srila Prabhupada delivered so many conditioned souls like that, and he converted many to pure devotees just by giving his association and talking about the activities of the Lord. So to take shelter of the Lord means to take shelter of such pure devotees and be constantly engaged in confidential service of the Lord. It is said that Srila Haridas Thakura, you might have by now heard about Srila Haridas Thakura. he would constantly chant, and he would chant 300,000 names a day. That comes to about 292 rounds, and he would engage himself in 22 hours or 23 hours. The rest of the 1 hour he would use to other activities like bathing, etc. So his chanting was so perfect that many times he would, out of love for the Lord, he would be dancing in ecstasy, sometimes crying, sometimes laughing. And seeing him develop these symptoms, it is said that many innocent citizens, they also developed a taste for chanting, and many became devotees of the Lord. So this is how the Lord's activities are, and when devotees engage in such activities, it is inspiring to each other. And then one devotee is always engaged in the service of the Lord also. Service to the Lord is not a physical activity. It is neither mental nor intellectual, but it's a spiritual activity, which has got a lot of love and affection for the Lord. When we serve somebody, we develop a love for them. Similarly, when we hear about the Lord, we develop love for the Lord, and then we want to share it. So Krishna also has got relationship with us, and Krishna comes down to this material world to perform his pastime so that we can hear about his Lord's glories, and we also develop a taste for it, and we also become pure devotees of the Lord so that we can constantly engage in discussion with the Lord and relish that bliss. This is the discussion for the day. With this, I end the class. So if any of you want to ask a question or two, if you have time, you can ask me. Any questions? Any comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Prabhuji, you used one different word when you were describing the nectarian, what do you call, qualities of Srimad Bhagavatam. I could not catch it. What is it, Prabhuji?
Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam is full of nectarian pastimes. That is why Srimad Bhagavatam, the early beginning slokas itself states Srimad Bhagavatam Amalam Puranam. That means it is a spotless Purana, and it is filled with so much of nectar that we should relish that nectar. We should drink that nectar and relish that nectar by hearing and discussing about it.
Okay, Prabhuji. Maybe I did not catch that Moolam Puranam.
Amalam Puranam, I didn't mention about Amalam Puranam, but
Okay.
I mentioned about Pibata Bhagavatam. That means one should drink the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam by hearing.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I'll listen to your talk again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hare
Anybody
Krishna.
else?